The night Julian Thorne brought his adopted sister home, she padded to our bedroom door. Her nightgown barely reached mid-thigh. "Julian," she whispered, voice trembling. "I'm scared. I can't sleep alone." Julian sighed, slipped out of bed, and told me softly, "Go back to sleep, Kasia." I lay awake long after the door closed. When silence became unbearable, I grabbed my phone and called every male model I knew. Within an hour, the house pulsed with laughter and music. That was what finally drew Julian out. "Everyone out," he said. The quietness of his tone was worse than a shout. The laughter vanished. The room emptied until it was just the two of us. Julian's jaw tensed. "What is this supposed to be, Kasia?" Behind him, Zoe stood barefoot, still in that indecent white lace thing, her hair loose around her shoulders, pretending innocence. I leaned back on the sofa, legs crossed, champagne in hand. "Your sister said she was frightened. I just invited company." Her face drained of color. "What do you think I am?" My smile turned razor sharp. "A girl who flirts with her own brother." "Kasia," Julian warned. Zoe's eyes welled up. "Who are you to talk?" she shot back. "Everyone knows what you were before you married him. If it weren't for the engagement between your families, he'd never have looked twice at you." "Zoe, that's enough," Julian barked. She stumbled back dramatically, tears streaming. "You're taking her side? After what she said?"
"Fine.
"I'll leave." She turned for the door, sobbing, and her nightgown slipped lower with every step. Julian caught her, muttering something under his breath, and carried her off. When he returned, he looked wrung out. "Can we not do this tonight, Kasia? I'm tired." I stared coldly. "Did you even hear what she called me?" "She didn't mean it," he said tiredly. "She's young. I'll apologize for her." I gave a bitter laugh. "She's right, though. You and I were a transaction. A merger. And before that, I had a reputation, didn't I? I liked parties. I liked men." His eyes darkened. He crossed the room in 2 strides, grabbed me, and kissed me. Hard. "You're my wife," he said through clenched teeth. I met his gaze, steady and burning. "And who insisted on making me your fiancé, Julian? Who dragged me out of clubs night after night and begged me to marry him?" He softened, resting his forehead against mine. "I did. It was me. Always me." I pushed him away. "Then you'll choose. Tomorrow, she leaves." I slammed the bedroom door before he could answer. The next morning, Zoe was at the table, cheerful as sunlight, wearing Julian's shirt and greeting me sweetly. "Morning, sister." The word sister hit harder than a slap. Julian, who hadn't entered our kitchen once in 3 years, stood at the stove in an apron, stirring soup. "Kasia, you have to try this." Zoe chirped. "Julian's fish bisque. He always makes it for me when I'm upset. It's the best comfort food." Yesterday, she called me a slut. Today, she bragged about his soup. Julian turned, pretending nothing was wrong. "You're up. Come eat." Did he think I'd just play along? Or had he already made his choice? I took a slow breath, pulled out my phone, and called my new assistant. "Alex, I need breakfast delivered. Black coffee, croissant, 9 sharp." Without another word, I grabbed my bag and walked out. Behind me, Zoe whined. I tried being nice, and she's still sulking. "Whatever. More for me. You made it for me anyway, right, Julian?" By the time I hit the highway, I'd already made up my mind. I called my brother. "I want a divorce." A pause. "Are you serious?" "Completely." "Does Julian know?" "Doesn't matter."
He sighed. "Fine.
"Give me a month." I hung up, tossed the phone aside, and stared out the window. "You and your sister can have each other, Julian." Later that morning, a massive bouquet of yellow roses arrived at my office. "Julian's doing. My favorite." I glanced at the flowers once, then handed them to my assistant. "They'll look better on your desk." Julian's assistant, Scott, had followed the delivery. Julian himself stood in the doorway, silent, watching. I ignored him, slid my black card into Alex's shirt pocket. Breakfast was perfect. A bonus. Alex smiled. "Thanks, boss." Julian's eyes followed every movement. When the door closed, he pushed me back against my desk, his voice low and angry. "You really know how to provoke me. Is this your payback?" "Please," I said dryly. If I wanted revenge, Julian, I'd have given him a key to my penthouse, not a credit card. Julian sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "I skipped my whole morning schedule just to come here." "Are you still angry?" He stepped closer, arms sliding around my waist. Kasha, what are you even mad about? A hollow laugh escaped me. He truly had no idea. 12 hours of fury, and he didn't even know why. I held up my phone. On the screen was a friend request from Zoe. The profile picture was fresh, her smiling coyly, wearing his shirt, standing in a field of yellow roses. The breakfast, I said quietly. You made it for her. In 3 years of marriage, you've never cooked so much as an egg for me. And the flowers, you sent me a single bouquet, but gave her an entire garden. He hesitated, frowning. If that's what this is about, I can cook for you tonight. Or send. Stop talking, I snapped. She's crossing every line, and you just stand there and let her. Julian looked genuinely confused. Kasha, she's my sister. What lines? I'm a sister too. I shot back, my voice trembling with fury. And I don't strut around my brother's house in lingerie. I don't crawl into his bed, and I definitely don't leave bite marks on his neck. His hand flew instinctively to his collar. You saw that? Oh, I saw it, I said coldly. And don't you dare tell me it was an accident. He gave a soft, humorless laugh. She's always been like that, playful. Like a puppy. I stared at him in disbelief. You're defending her? She isn't your real sister, Julian. That hit him. His eyes hardened. No, she's not. But don't twist it into something filthy. Get out, I said through clenched teeth. He didn't move. Instead, he leaned in, his voice lower, almost teasing. It's been a long time since you were jealous. Don't flatter yourself. I'll talk to her, he said, brushing his thumb along my jaw. Don't be angry, okay? He knew exactly how to disarm me. Always had.
I was about to respond when his phone rang.
The name flashing across the screen. Zoe. He glanced at the call, sighed, and silenced it. I'll fix this, he promised, fingers lacing through mine. I'll call my parents, have her move back home. Just come home early tonight, okay? Tell me what you want for dinner. I'll make it myself. That tenderness reminded me of the man he used to be, the one who once dragged me out of a club, trembling with anger but never shouting. The man who cupped my face and said, voice raw, tell me what I have to do, Kasha. I'll do anything. I wanted to believe him again. Okay, Julian, I'll trust you. One last time. I squeezed his hand. But if you lie to me, I'll never forgive you. He smiled faintly and kissed my eyelids. I've never lied to you. When I returned home that night, Julian wasn't there.
Zoe was.
She sat curled on the couch, her expression sharp enough to cut glass. Why didn't you accept my friend request? She asked. I ignored her, heading for the stairs. Is there a reason? Her tone rose. What did you say to him? Why is he sending me away? I kept walking until she screamed. Answer me. The next sound was shattering glass. Pain exploded at my temple. She had thrown a vase. I felt shards and thorns scrape my face and arms, the scent of roses mixing with the metallic tang of blood. The door swung open. Before I could speak, Zoe grabbed a jagged shard from the floor and pressed it against her wrist. I was just trying to apologize, she cried, tears streaking her cheeks. Why do you hate me? Is that what you want, Kasha? For me to disappear? Do I have to die to make you happy? Zoe, stop. Julian's voice rang out as he rushed in, his face pale with panic. Brother, she sobbed, trembling, I know I don't belong. I won't stand in the way of your happiness anymore. The glass bit into her skin. Blood bloomed red and bright. Julian's face went white. Don't be stupid, he shouted, scooping her into his arms. I'm taking you to the hospital. He didn't even look at me. Julian,
I cried.
She's faking. She did this to herself. But the door was already closing behind them. I slid down the wall, trembling, the sting of glass and betrayal burning together. My heart felt carved open, piece by piece. He came home close to midnight, his jacket slung over one shoulder, exhaustion etched into his face. I was packing when he stopped at the doorway. You're leaving? He asked quietly. What does it look like? My tone was sharp enough to make his expression harden. Kasha, no one's blaming you. I let out a bitter laugh. Oh, how gracious of you. He pinched the bridge of his nose, clearly running on fumes. I told you I'd send her home. Why did you have to provoke her? Provoke her? I echoed. I didn't accept her friend request, Julian. That's all. I may not have a say in who you sleep beside, but I do get to choose who's on my social media. His patience cracked. Don't be deliberately cruel, he said. You know she's fragile. I stared. Fragile? Is that what we're calling it now? He finally raised his voice, a first in our 3-year marriage. Yes, Kasia. She's been through hell. When she found out she was adopted, she completely fell apart. Self-harm, depression, suicide attempts. I was the one who held her together. I sent her overseas to get help. She can't handle confrontation.
Can you at least try to understand that?
His voice broke on the last word. The realization chilled me. Julian Thorne, always so composed, was shaking. Not for me. For her. I bit down on my lip until I tasted blood. You're right, I whispered. I'm heartless. Full. Vicious. I zipped the suitcase closed. So go, Julian. Go take care of your sweet, helpless sister. He exhaled, his expression gone cold. You don't have to leave, he said flatly. I'll move out with her. We'll talk when you've calmed down. I locked myself in the bathroom, and a few minutes later I heard him packing. Then came the sound I would never forget, the quiet click of the door closing behind him. It was final, and I couldn't even cry. We stopped speaking after that. I didn't know where he went, and I didn't care. Until his cousin forwarded me screenshots from Zoe's private account, who still gets scolded by her big brother at 24.
Me.
Photo. Julian texting her, his tone half angry, half indulgent. Tonight's dinner. My brother's famous bisque. Photo. Julian feeding her, her smile soft and smug. Tried on his shirt. So comfy I might keep it. Photo. Her curled up on a couch, Julian blurred in the background, working. I didn't even get angry. The old me would have hunted them down and burned the house to ashes. The new me just laughed. It was all so pitiful. My brother messaged about the divorce papers. My assistant, Milo, brought me my usual black coffee. He was sharp, confident, and in 2 weeks had learned every detail of how I like things done. He perched on the edge of my desk with a teasing grin. Good news calls for a drink. I raised an eyebrow and tugged playfully at his tie. His pupils darkened, a faint smirk curving his lips. I'm not really in the mood for drinks, I murmured. That night, I took him to my private penthouse. I hadn't planned on seeing Julian again so soon. But fate loves irony. He was at a downtown club, fists flying, temper gone. Zoe was in the corner, crying, surrounded by a few drunk men who scattered when his security team stormed in. I leaned against the bar, half amused, watching until his eyes found mine. Recognition. Fury. Something else. After ensuring Zoe was safely escorted out, he came straight to me. His gaze flicked to Milo standing beside me, and darkened. Of course he remembered him. 6'3", broad shoulders, crisp white shirt. Unforgettable. Did you send those guys after her? Julian asked quietly, though his tone was pure accusation. I smiled and slipped an arm around Milo's waist. Do you really think I have that kind of free time? Julian's jaw tightened. He looked away, fighting his pride. Just asking. I thought maybe you were jealous. I didn't answer. I simply turned to Milo. Let's go. As we walked off, Milo leaned close, his voice low and deliberately suggestive. We're almost out of that last box. Want me to grab more on the way? Heat rushed to my face as I realized Julian could hear him. I dragged Milo toward the door. He ducked into a 24-hour pharmacy while I waited in the car. A few seconds later, the passenger door opened, and Julian was there. I know he's just a prop, he said softly. You're trying to make me angry. Kasia. The way he said my name made my chest ache.
He took my hand.
I'm sending Zoe back to the States tomorrow. Her classes start soon. When I return, we'll talk. Really talk. His voice gentled. Let's go back to how we were. I thought of his promise. This time, I'll make it just for you. And my own, one last chance. All right, I said finally. When you get back, we'll talk. About the divorce. He returned for the Thorne Industries gala. If it wasn't for this party, his mother scolded, you'd still be in America with Zoe. You've forgotten all about us. Julian's gaze flicked toward me. I raised my glass, a faint, mocking smile curving my lips. The Singapore office had a contract that needed signing, he said. It took longer than I thought. Well, look who it is, a friend shouted. The golden couple. We haven't seen you two together in ages. Who'd have thought Kasia, the man-eater, Peyton would be the one to get tamed? I smiled pleasantly. Oh, that's sweet of you. But we're getting divorced. The laughter died instantly. Julian's expression darkened, a storm brewing behind his eyes. Kasia, you're kidding, right? Not at all, I said lightly. The papers are ready. Julian, after this, we should go sign them. He gripped my arm, his voice low. We need to talk.
Now.
Kasha. Freya's voice rang out from the crowd as she hurried toward us. You left your sonogram in my car? Julian froze. His grip loosened. You're pregnant. The raw joy that flashed across his face almost hurt to look at. It was also the perfect revenge. I am, I said with a sweet smile. Just 2 weeks. The light drained from his eyes. He understood instantly. 2, I repeated. Weeks. His joy turned to ice. Kasha, he whispered, his hand trembling. What did you do? I laughed softly. Julian, when was the last time we slept together? Oh, right. Before Zoe came back. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Cheated? I mocked. Was I the only one? Kasha, I never betrayed you. His voice cracked. Really? I clicked the small remote in my pocket. The ballroom fell silent as the music stopped. On the giant screen, the Thorne Industries logo vanished, replaced by a photo. Zoe, in black lingerie, straddling Julian on a sofa, her lips pressed to his. A selfie. So, Julian, I said, my voice clear and steady, echoing through the stunned room. Sleeping with your adopted sister. How very unconventional. His mother fainted. Security rushed forward while Julian's father shouted for everyone to leave. The ballroom dissolved into chaos. Julian's eyes were bloodshot as he tried to reach me. You're lying, his father roared. That's fake. Is it? I shot back. Or, did you just raise a son with no morals? Kasha, it was a mistake. Julian pleaded, reaching for me. Freya stepped between us. A mistake? You want to see the messages Zoe sent, bragging about this? You want to know what it's like being the third wheel in your own marriage? Julian's face was ashen. Can I please explain? No need, I said coldly. Let Zoe explain why I have those photos. I turned to leave. Julian, I added, pausing at the door. I'm pregnant. His hand dropped, his voice strangled. Stay away from me. In the car, Freya was fuming. He still didn't sign. We have to force him. He'll sign, I said, staring out the window. This was just to make sure he signs quietly. Can I ask the baby whose is it? I thought of the dark room, the warmth of another man's skin, the sound of his breath. It doesn't matter, I said. I blocked all his calls, his assistants, his lawyers. Eventually, an unfamiliar number reached me, a lawyer requesting a private meeting to finalize the divorce. I went. It was him. He looked wrecked, unshaven, hollow-eyed. So this is it, he rasped. Divorce is the only thing you'll see me for? We have nothing else to discuss. He took a shuddering breath. That night, she was drunk. She'd just been dumped. She thought I was her ex. And I was drunk too. I thought she was you. His voice broke. But I swear, Kasha, it was only that once. It's always been you. I laughed until tears stung my eyes. It doesn't matter. I slept with someone else too. We're even. He went pale. I can pretend it didn't happen, he whispered. I can't. And it did. The baby is proof. Why are you doing this? I gave you a chance, I said. The first night, I said me or her. You chose her. The second time, you said you'd make her leave, but you left instead. The third time, you called me cruel for not understanding her. I leaned forward, my voice flat. I'm done understanding, Julian. Go be with your sister. I told you I don't. I threw my water in his face. Stop it. Stop lying. You say you thought she was me? How disgusting. You protected her. You believed she was a fragile angel while I was the villain. Maybe she's just a sister to you, but you were never just a brother to her. She was drunk and sad? What a convenient excuse. I unlocked my phone and played an audio clip. Zoe's voice, smug and breathy, filled the air. Julian flinched, his entire body trembling. Kasha, don't be stupid. Just because you married him doesn't mean anything. He and I grew up together. We're soulmates. You're the one who got in the way. If I hadn't been sick, he never would have even looked at you. P.S. Staying in the marriage bed alone is lonely, isn't it? Just so you know, he was with me all night. And he wasn't quiet. Julian looked like he might be sick. It's not.
I didn't. He stammered.
Kasha, please, it was just that one time. Does it matter? I cut him off. One time, 100 times. What's the difference? He looked destroyed. I could see it, the moment he realized he'd finally lost me. She said I was the third wheel. I whispered. My voice cracked despite me. And she was right. You both made me feel like I was the one who didn't belong. Tears streamed down his face as he fell to his knees, clutching my hand. No. Kasia, please, listen to me. I don't want to listen anymore, Julian. He stared up at me, broken, his voice barely a whisper. I won't sign. I will not divorce you. He didn't understand that I was already gone. When you're ready, I said quietly, pulling free, contact my brother. He's my lawyer. I walked away. He reached for me, but his fingers only brushed empty air. For the next week, he showed up at my office. 9 in the morning, noon, 5 in the evening, just sitting in the lobby, silent, waiting. The scandal was everywhere. Julian Thorne, heir to Thorne Industries, camped in his wife's lobby, like a beggar. Eventually, his father called. He would make Julian sign. On one condition. I had to publicly claim the baby was his. That my talk of cheating was just anger, not truth. The Thorne family's reputation mattered more than honesty. It was absurd, but I agreed. A public war would be exhausting, and our family's business ties were already fragile. A clean break was better than a drawn-out mess. Under pressure from his father, Julian signed the papers. He looked hollow, as if something vital had burned out of him. We've signed, his father said coldly. Now, keep your word. Fine, I replied, smiling faintly. I'll make the announcement tonight. That small, genuine smile seemed to hurt Julian more than anything I'd said before. He turned and walked away without a word. Later that evening, in the parking garage, he was waiting beside my car, a cigarette burning between his fingers. Kasia, he said quietly. We're done. I know. But can you come home one last time? You left some things. He wasn't wrong. I had a few old journals and boxes in storage. Against my better judgment, I let him in the car. The ride was silent. His eyes were closed, his expression empty. Halfway there, a tear slid down his cheek. I felt nothing. He'd made his choices. When I opened the door, the scent hit me first. Everything was different, new furniture, new rugs, fresh paint. I destroyed our home, he said hoarsely. I brought her into our life, so I tried to build you a new one. I threw out everything she ever touched. Tears blurred his eyes. I'm never seeing her again, Kasia. He grabbed my hand, his voice breaking. I built a nursery. I didn't know if it was a boy or a girl, so I bought 2 of everything. Please, just come see it. I stared at him. Julian, you're just like your father. The baby isn't yours. He smiled through the tears. I don't care if it's mine. It's yours. That's all that matters. He really was broken. You don't have to do this, I said softly. He shook his head. Kasia, this last month it's been worse than dying. Are you softening? Freya asked, watching me over her cup of coffee. No, I said, taking a slow sip of tea. I just don't hate him anymore. The farewell party at the Thorne mansion was a carefully staged performance. Julian's parents announced our amicable separation to a room full of reporters and shareholders. This entire ordeal, his father declared, was caused by a vindictive, adopted girl we took in out of kindness. She repaid us with betrayal. We have severed all ties with her. Then he turned to me, giving me the cue. And I said smoothly, was emotional. I said things I didn't mean. While we've chosen to part ways, we look forward to co-parenting our child together. The crowd applauded politely. A neat, polished ending to a filthy story. As I left, Julian ran after me, knocking on my car window. His hair was messy, his tie loosened, his breath uneven. What you said about co-parenting, was that real? The hope in his eyes was almost pitiful. No, I said simply. His face fell. He stepped back as I rolled up the window. Driving away, for the first time in months, I felt quiet. Not happy, not free, just still. It was finally over. When I got home, the doorman stopped me. Ma'am, the manager of your other property called. A neighbor reported a strange smell. They're requesting a wellness check. I sighed. The last thing I wanted was to go there, to that penthouse, where everything had started. I arrived just after midnight. After calming the overly dramatic building super, I collapsed onto the sofa. Exhaustion pressed against my bones. That night flashed back to me, the one that changed everything. Afterwards, he'd been full of restless energy. He'd gone into the kitchen, wearing nothing but an apron, his back broad and strong under the light. He'd made me noodles. You're not a picky eater, he'd said with a grin, watching me eat. Easy to take care of. That was when I realized he didn't think it had been just a one-night thing. So I'd left before dawn, deleted his number, called HR, and had him dismissed with a generous severance. I'd felt a flicker of guilt, seducing him and then firing him, but HR told me he was fine. He'd simply left.
The doorbell rang.
Probably the super again. I opened it and froze. It was him. Milo. But not the same Milo. Gone was the polite, efficient assistant. The man leaning against my doorframe now radiated confidence and danger, a lazy smirk curving his mouth. Kasha Payton, he drawled, his voice low and unhurried. I heard you're letting another man raise my child. My phone buzzed. A text from Freya. Freya. Kasha. That's not your ex-assistant. That's Milo Young. As in San Francisco, YNGS. I looked up at him, stunned. You're? My mind reeled back years. My graduation. My parents had arranged for me to finally meet Julian Thorne at a stiff family dinner. I'd called Freya in a panic. Find me a date. Someone hot. Someone my father will hate. Freya, text at the entrance. White shirt. You can't miss him. He's a 10. I'd seen him, leaning against a wall, cigarette in hand, exuding effortless arrogance. He really was a 10. I'd grabbed his arm. You're with me. We're late. I hadn't noticed the flicker of surprise in his eyes as I dragged him toward the private dining room. Then, somewhere along the way, he'd disappeared. I'd been furious at Freya, who swore the man had been there. I always thought I'd grabbed the wrong guy. But Milo's version was different. I hadn't grabbed the wrong man. I'd grabbed him. He'd known exactly who I was, the rebellious Payton heiress, and curiosity had gotten the better of him. When I ditched him, he'd been annoyed. When he found out I'd married Julian Thorne, he'd been furious. So, he'd applied for a job at my company. As my assistant. A spontaneous decision, he claimed. To get close.
To win.
That one-night stand wasn't an accident. It was a move in his game. And the baby, the jackpot. He stepped past me into the penthouse, moving like he owned it. And Kasha, he said, turning back with that lazy, possessive smile. We're keeping him.